Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanishalaakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayet. In this session, we will be discussing from the 21st and 22nd verses of the 19th chapter of the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. The 21st verse is as follows. Sarve vayam tavad ihasmahetha kalevaram yavad asau vihaya lokam param virajaskam vishokam yasyati ayam bhagavata pradhanaha. The meaning of this verse is, we shall all wait here until the foremost devotee of the Lord, Maharaj Parikshit, returns to the supreme planet, which is completely free from all mundane contamination and all kinds of lamentation. This verse is spoken by the assembled sages. They have assembled in that holy spot where Parikshit decided to sit down to fast until death, preparing for quitting his body to go back home, back to Godhead, on the bank of the river Ganga, a holy place. So the sages who were received very respectfully by Parikshit Maharaj, they have come from different parts of the universe, and they are all very, very great saintly persons. And they could foresee that the Srimad Bhagavatam is going to be spoken, and therefore they have come here to listen to the Bhagavatam. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains, beyond the limitation of the material creation, which is compared to the cloud in the sky, there is the Paravyoma, or the spiritual sky, full of planets called Vaikunthas. This is explained in the Bhagavad Gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam. In the Bhagavad Gita it is said by Krishna, Parastasmat tu bhavo nyo vyakto vyaktat sanatanaha yasya sarveshu bhuteshu narshyatsu na vinashyati. So Krishna is talking about another nature, bhava, anya bhava. And what is that different nature? It is different from material nature. Material nature undergoes changes in terms of creation, maintenance and destruction. Unlike material nature, there is another spiritual nature. That spiritual nature is beyond this material creation, beyond the material sky. So Srila Prabhupada is quoting that Bhagavad Gita and telling, beyond the limitation of the material creation. Material creation is limited. Even though in the material creation there are millions of universes, and each universe has millions of planets, each planet has millions of living entities, but still it is comparable to a cloud in the sky. It's like the sky is very vast, but the cloud is just few hundred meters or at the most a few kilometers, spread over the sky, vast sky, expanse of the sky. Similarly, there is the Paravyoma, the spiritual sky. Paravyoma. Vyoma means the sky. And Paravyoma is the spiritual sky. Now, the spiritual sky is not known to everyone. Of course, the materialists have no conception of spiritual nature at all, because they only accept what is perceivable by their gross senses. And some other materialists who may accept something about the mind, they may imagine something beyond what is grossly manifest. But the transcendentalists, from the authoritative scriptures, are aware of the spiritual nature. But even among transcendentalists who are aware of the spiritual nature, the impersonalists only know about the spiritual sky, which is called Paravyoma or Brahma Jyoti or Brahman manifestation beyond the material creation. But they do not know that the spiritual sky is full of planets called Vaikunthas. So, the information or the reality or the truth about spiritual planets in the spiritual sky is known only to the devotees, only to bhakti yogis. The category of transcendentalists called personalists or bhakti yogis or devotees. Such Vaikuntha planets are also differently known as, Prabhupada gives the names of different Vaikuntha planets. Just like the material planets, we have names like Brahma, Loka, Maharloka, Janaloka, Tapoloka, Satya, Bhuloka, Bhuvarloka, Atala, Sutala, Vitala, Talatala, like that. So Vaikuntha planets also have different names, such as Purushottama Loka, Achyuta Loka, Trivikrama Loka, Rishikesha Loka, Keshava Loka, Aniruddha Loka, Madhava Loka, Pradyumna Loka, Sankarshana Loka, Madhava Loka, Sridhara Loka, Vasudeva Loka, Ayodhya Loka, Dwarka Loka, and many other millions of spiritual lokas. So, the name of the Vaikuntha planet, if it is, say, the name is Purushottama Loka, because it is predominated by the Supreme Lord, whose name is Purushottama. If the predominating deity of the Vaikuntha planet is Trivikrama, that planet is called Trivikrama Loka. If the predominating deity is Vasudeva, it's called Vasudeva Loka, like that. Now, Dwarka is Krishna's own abode. Ayodhya is Lord Ramachandra's own abode. Like this, there are many millions of spiritual lokas wherein the personality of Godhead predominates. Unlike in the material world, the different planets, the predominating deities are different devatas. So, different devatas are different living beings. But in the spiritual world, in the spiritual sky, the spiritual planets are predominated by one person, one and only one Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself, even though He is one and only one person, He expands Himself in millions of forms, each form having a different name. So, according to the name of the particular form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the loka also derives its name. Achyuta is one expansion of the Supreme Lord. So, where Achyuta predominates, that planet is called Achyuta Loka, like that. Now, the special thing about these planets is, the spiritual planets is, all the living entities there in the spiritual planets are liberated souls. They are all liberated souls. And in the material world, in the material planets, in the material universes, all are conditioned souls. You see the difference? Here, anybody who is taking birth in this material world with a material body is a conditioned soul. The liberated souls never accept a material body. They live in the spiritual planets, Vaikuntha Lokas. They live with spiritual bodies as good as that of the Lord. The Lord has a spiritual body. He never comes in touch with matter. He never has any material contact or material body, never. So, just like the Lord, the living entities also there are liberated souls with spiritual bodies as good as that of the Lord. There is no material contamination. Virajaskam. Everything there is spiritual, and therefore there is nothing objectively lamentable. Vishokam. They are full of transcendental bliss and are without birth, death, old age and disease. See, the material world is characterized by these four defects. Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi, Dukkha, Doshanu, Darshanam. That's a description of the material world. The spiritual world, in the spiritual planets, there is no birth, no death, no disease, no old age. Amongst all the above mentioned Vaikuntha Lokas, there is one supreme loka called Goloka Vrindavana, which is the abode of the Lord Sri Krishna and his specific associates. Maharaj Parikshit was destined to achieve this particular loka, Sri Krishna Loka or Goloka Vrindavana. And the great rishis assembled there could foresee this. All of them consulted among themselves about the great departure of the great king, and they wanted to see him up to the last moment because they would no more be able to see such a great devotee of the Lord. The 22nd verse, Ashrutya tad rishi gana vacha parikshit samam madhuchyat guru chavyalikam abhashata enan abhinandya yuktan shushrushamanaha charitani Vishnu. The meaning of this verse is, all that was spoken by the great sages was very sweet to hear, full of meaning and appropriately presented as perfectly true. They are very great personalities, so when they speak, it is very, very pleasing to the ears. And it is full of meaning. When they speak, it is very, very controlled speech. So it is full of meaning and appropriately presented as perfectly true. They are above illusion. They are liberated souls. So when they speak, everything is perfectly true. So after hearing them, Maharaj Parikshit, desiring to hear of the activities of Lord Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, congratulated the great sages. This is Parikshit's reaction when the sages spoke something. What was his reaction? So that will be described what Parikshit's reaction was in the next verse. I'll stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.